A panel led by Singapore's head of civil service will look into the disclosure of thousands of full identification numbers on a business registry portal. 2 cabinet ministers have apologised in Parliament for the mistake that caused public anxiety. They also addressed over 50 questions filed by MPs. It was revealed that over 500,000 searches for NRIC numbers were made on the portal over the 5-day period last month when the numbers were available. There are usually only a few thousand searches each day. Richa Mathew reports.
This portal sent thousands of Singaporeans into frenzy almost a month ago, when full NRIC numbers were made public here. Following that, a public apology last month and disabling of the function. Now a team is probing the matter further.
A review panel has been set up to study the root cause of the incident, and work is already underway. The panel is led by Head of Civil Service, Mr. Leo Yip, and it includes permanent secretaries whose ministries are not involved in the NRIC policy or this incident. It also includes the permanent secretaries of MOF, which oversees ACRA, and MDDI.
There'll be 2 focus areas: how full NRIC numbers on the business portal of Singapore's Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority, or ACRA, were freely accessible by the public, plus a review of the government's policy on the responsible use of these numbers. The group reports directly to Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean.
For both matters, the panel will study what happened, how the decisions were made, the implementation and communication processes, the coordination across public sector agencies, and where the government should have done and can do better. It will also recommend areas for improvement. Specific to the People Search function on BizFile, the panel will look into the design and implementation of the search function.
Replying to questions from MPs if action could be taken against parties involved in the incident, Ms. Indranee said it will depend on the outcome of the review.
Based on the panel's preliminary findings, the incident seems to be a genuine case of miscommunication born out of insufficient understanding of the policy intent and each party's needs and requirements. Nevertheless, if the panel uncovers facts that suggest actionable wrongdoing or serious lapses, it will refer the matter to the relevant bodies or authorities for further disciplinary or legal action.
As for ACRA, a review of the search function on its portal is also ongoing.
ACRA is considering the rollout of additional search parameters, such as the UEN of the entity with which the individual is associated. It will also support the review panel in identifying what went wrong and what could and should have been done better.
The review is expected to be completed in February. Findings will be shared with the public after.
Ms. Indranee Rajah also clarifies that the Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority, or ACRA, has the power to collect information on business entities and related persons. She says giving public access to such information is not unique to Singapore. Business registries worldwide adopt this practice. So here's a look at how ACRA works and why it holds such information. As Singapore's national regulator of business registration, it is empowered to collect data of businesses and associated persons, such as directors and shareholders, but not all Singaporean personnel information is in the database. Now, businesses' details like the company's unique entity number or UEN, registered address, and business activity are collected. For individuals, the NRIC numbers, contact addresses and roles in the companies are recorded. The information is made public for companies and investors to conduct due diligence checks. And this is for transparency when making business transactions like mergers and acquisitions. It also helps to deter illicit activities like money laundering and fraud. A user can access the information on ACRA's BizFile. Now, that's a one-stop portal for all e-services. Using the search function, a specific person's name and their masked NRIC number are displayed for free. For a small fee, more information can be accessed, such as the full NRIC number. But on the 9th of December, it was discovered that the portal gave free public access to the full NRIC in what has been described as a lapse in coordination between the government and agency. Now, Digital Development and Information Minister Josephine says NRIC numbers are identifiers and should not be used as authenticators. In her ministerial statement in Parliament, Mrs. Teo reiterated that NRIC numbers are personal data and can only be collected and used when necessary.
This meant two things. One, not using the NRIC number as an authenticator, and two, moving away from the use of masked NRIC numbers because it creates a false sense of security. We knew this transition would take time, but it was better to start while the problem is relatively contained and for the government to take the lead.
So how should the NRIC number be used? Mrs. Teo says the NRIC number is a useful, unique identifier in certain situations where several people who share the same name are seeking, for example, medical treatment at a clinic or hospital. In other instances, disclosing the full NRIC number is required by law, such as when subscribing to a mobile telephone line. Mrs. Teo says this means it must be assumed that some people would know the person's NRIC number.
We have said that our NRIC number is like our name. Even if it is not widely disclosed, it is not secret. If someone we don't recognize calls out our names and starts to behave as though they know us well, we would be at least slightly suspicious. This should also be how we treat anyone who tells us our NRIC number. We should not automatically assume that they know us well, or are figures of authority, or can be trusted.
Well, she also adds that NRIC numbers should not be used as a form of authentication or a proof of who a person claims to be, or a key to unlock more information or services. She says the physical NRIC should be used instead. And that's because it contains other identifiers such as a photo or a fingerprint and is not easily faked.
Organizations must know that the physical NRIC card and the NRIC number are different. The physical NRIC card can be an authenticator, but the NRIC number should not be used as an authenticator. Organizations should therefore not accept my NRIC number alone as proof that the person citing it is indeed me.